S.H Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Recoome was released in Japan on the 22nd of February as a Bandai premium web exclusive and retails for 7,000 yen or roughly $70 US. Recoome was also available on pre-order on the Bandai premium US website and will start hitting the States at the end of March. As a rule of thumb, US-based releases are usually 1 month after the Japanese domestic release dates. So if you've been following the line, you'll know that Recoome is the third figure in the Figuarts Ginyu Force lineup, the previous two releases being of course Captain Ginyu himself and Geese, both figures proving to be some of the best figures Tamashii has released to date in the Dragon Ball line. And I'm very happy to say that Recoome is no exception. Tamashii has once again produced an excellent representation of another Ginyu Force member in figure form. I really do believe that Tamashii have put a little extra love into the Ginyu Force members, as it really reflects in not only how animation accurate the figure is, but also just how expressive they are in terms of design and articulation. Starting with the all-important head sculpt, this is nothing short of perfect in my opinion. The rectangular, vertically stretched head with his iconic orange hair, which is removable, that derpy, almost crazy smirk he has. This is how I remember Recoome from my childhood. Once again, Tamashii have really captured the over-the-top, almost caricature look of Recoome. You get 4 heads with the figure, but I think this one is probably my favorite one. What I love about the Ginyu Force is that they all wear very similar armor, which makes them look cohesive like a team, but each member also has their own subtle differences. Recoome's armor is very similar to Ginyu's armor, where the shoulder pads, the side skirt pads, and the middle crotch pad are all detachable. I know that some of you don't like this, but like Ginyu, for me it's kind of reassuring that I don't damage the hinges when I'm trying to pose him. I'd much rather have the pads pop off than break them trying to get Recoome in a difficult pose. And it's not like they just fall off easily, they are on there pretty tightly. Recoome is a pretty big muscular character, so as expected, all the musculature is sculpted exceptionally well, especially his arms. And just look at those thighs. As per usual, paintwork is minimal as most of the figure is molded colored plastic with few but clean paint apps on the brown parts of the pads, the black tights where it meets the open areas of his arms and legs, and a very crisp Ginyu Force logo on his chest. A bit of shading around the musculature would have really made this figure pop, but on its own, I think there's enough depth in the sculpt work to give the illusion of shadows and shading. So taking a look at the articulation, I'm going to try and slow down this section a little bit more than I usually do, as some of you have kindly requested that I kind of take my time, take it back a notch, and show you the full extent of what the articulation can actually do for the figure. So I'm going to try and slow it down, take my time with it, and hopefully give you guys a better idea of what Recoome can actually do. If you guys haven't noticed, I kind of talk different during the articulation section. I usually script all of my videos, but the articulation section, and if there are head swaps for the video, those are the only 2 sections that, you know, I kind of just talk out of my ass. And yeah, that's neither here or there, but if you guys do notice that I do speak differently, that's the reason why. So moving on to the head articulation. Recoome can actually move his head very far up, and that's because he has this great neck joint. Unfortunately, you do get this gap here between the neck and the chest, but it does make for some very good flying poses, which is cool. He can bury his head way into his chest. Good for looking down on Vegeta when you have him fighting against Vegeta. He's got some excellent head tilt again because of that neck joint, but you know, if you're concerned about that gap, he still does move his head, still does tilt his head left and right very well, stretching before he fights, and of course he does have side-to-side rotation as well. Looking at the shoulder pads, as with all armored Dragon Ball characters. They are on hinges, so you can move them out. And just like I said in the beginning of the video, they are very similar. They are exactly the same as Captain Ginyu, so you can remove them. But we're going to leave them on for this section of the video. His shoulders do rotate 360, but you have to kind of move them out of the way to accommodate for the shoulder pads. He gets a little bit past 90 degrees there at the shoulders. And he has some excellent butterfly joints. So if we move his shoulders forward, you can see here it has this huge gap there at the back. But I'm definitely cool with that because you can get Recoome's arm way across his chest like that. He's got upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Fantastic for a very bulky character like Recoome. We get some really nice hinges at the wrist. Look at that. Very cool. And of course, your wrist swivels as well. Recoome has some excellent ab crunch. Just like his Ginyu Force counterparts, but again, you have this huge gap at the back. Like I said, I'm totally cool with this, as you know, the range of motion you get with his ab crunch is definitely outweighs that negative. You get some side to side tilt as well. And you do get some rotation at the upper torso and lower torso as well. So moving on to the legs, the side skirt pads and the crotch pad do kind of get in the way. So Recoome has some pretty decent range moving out, but it's not the full splits, but it's good enough. He does kick out a little less than 90 degrees, which isn't bad. And there goes his shoulder pad. That's okay, we're going to leave it out. But he does get his legs quite far back, actually. Very good for those iconic Recoome poses. You get upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, left and right swivel at the ankles, going down, up, some toe articulation, and Recoome actually has some very, very decent ankle tilt as well. As with every Ginyu Force figure released thus far, Recoome comes packed in with a slew of accessories, not only for his figure alone, but also for Captain Ginyu as well. Starting with the heads, we get 4 in total, all excellently sculpted and detailed with clean paint apps. The scouter is a separate piece, but unfortunately, like Geese, you can't have Recoome without his scouter. There is no additional earpiece or scouterless heads that come with the figure, something I would have really liked Tamashii to include. The hair, as I mentioned, is removable, so you do have to replace the hair each time you swap out the heads. Recoome comes with a ton of hands to help him recreate all of his iconic poses. 2 fists, 2 blast hands, 2 sets of closed open palm hands, 1 set straight on, and the other bending upward. 2 hands to hold the Namekian Dragon Ball. Once again, this figure includes a Namekian Dragon Ball, to be more specific, the 3-star Dragon Ball, which makes 4 out of the 7. Berta, First Form Frieza, and of course the unannounced Bulma coming with the remaining 3. The two additional accessories Recoome comes with is of course the frog Captain Ginyu and Bulma are body swapped into. A small but nicely detailed and well painted piece. The eyes are painted in there very cleanly. All the dots on the back. And the underbelly of the frog there, it's nice and crisp. The white paint, can't see any of the green showing through. Just a cool little accessory to include with the set. And you also get the frog expression head for Captain Ginyu himself to recreate that one scene from that particular episode. Again, whether you'll be using these accessories or not, I really like how these complement each figure, making the series of figures feel like a cohesive set. I've always liked the idea of including accessories you can use for other figures in the line. These are accessories Tamashii didn't have to include, but I'm sure they threw them in there just for us fans and for people who have a personal attachment to the characters themselves. As you can see, Recoome towers over most figures and is probably the second largest in the team. Berta probably taking the #1 spot. As I've been saying with all Ginyu Force figures, if you have one, you'll have to get the rest. Yes, these figures are a little harder to get your hands on and a little bit more expensive than your regular releases, but I really do think that you get a lot with this set considering the size of Recoome. Yes, there really isn't much in terms of energy effects this time around, as I think most of the budget was spent on the figure itself. That being said, it would have been nice to have an effect for his signature move, the eraser gun. I guess you could argue that the appeal of the Ginyu Force figures is to have them all together as a team, which obviously would be very cool, but Recoome as a standalone figure really is the whole package. Design and sculpt work faithful to the source material, fantastic articulation that makes posing really enjoyable, and an abundance of accessories. Again, some heads without the scouter, a bit more paintwork in the muscle regions would have been much appreciated, but those are just really minor nitpicks. I'm looking forward to completing the team with Berta, probably my favorite out of the Ginyu Force, coming this May. And just in general, I've said this before, but the Ginyu Force I think will really open up Tamashii's roster of unique Dragon Ball characters. Yes, I enjoy all my versions of Goku and Vegeta, but Recoome and the Ginyu Force was really a breath of fresh air. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Likes and comments are always appreciated. But yeah, who's your favorite Ginyu Force member? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Have a great weekend, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. Stay healthy, stay safe. Yoroshiku!